नमस्ते, हमेशा खुश रहो बिटिया। आई एम JVM Dr. Meenakshi, Assistant Professor in Department of Shalakya Tantra, Faculty of Ayurvedic Science, Jyoti Vidyapeeth, Women's University. Today in this session, we will discuss a disease known as the pterygium. So, what is pterygium? Pterygium is derived from a word, Latin word pterygion. Pterygion means wing. So, pterygium is a wing-shaped fold of conjunctiva encroaching upon the cornea from either side within the interpalpebral fissure. So, what is the interpalpebral fissure? It is the area between the two eyelids, area enclosed by the two eyelids. It is called the interpalpebral fissure, and within this area, if a fold of conjunctiva, which is a wing shape, if it is coming from the either side and it is coming to upon the cornea from the inner canthus or outer canthus, if a fold of conjunctiva is encroaching upon the cornea, it is called the pterygium. So pterygium is a disease of conjunctiva. So next is the etiology. What are the causes of pterygium? The etiology of pterygium is not definitely known. It's not known, but the disease is more common in people living in the hot climates. Therefore, the most accepted view is that it is a response of prolonged effect of environmental factors such as exposure to sun, ultraviolet rays, dry heat, high wind, and abundance of dust. Means the dust, heat, UV rays, these are the predisposing factors for causing the pterygium, and is mainly found in the people which are living in this hot climate. Then the pathology. The pathologically, pterygium is a degenerative and hyperplastic condition of conjunctiva. Pterygium is a degenerative disease, whereas the cells hyperplasia is when the number of cells increases. So when there is hyperplasia of the conjunctiva as well as side by side there is a degeneration, and the subconjunctival tissue undergoes elastototic degeneration and proliferates as vascularized granulation tissue under the epithelium, which ultimately encroaches the cornea. The corneal epithelium, Bowman's membrane, and superficial stroma are destroyed. The upper three layers of the cornea, which are the corneal epithelium, Bowman's membrane, and superficial stroma, they are destroyed. So, cornea is also affected in case of pterygium. Then we come to the clinical features of pterygium. Pterygium is more common in elderly males doing outdoor work. As you discussed in pathology, that etiology occurs in the hot climate. So the males which are doing work in outdoors, they are most commonly affected, and in elderly males because it is a degenerative disorder. So it is mostly found in elderly males. It may be unilateral or bilateral. It can occur in one eye or both the eyes. It presents as a triangular fold of conjunctiva encroaching the cornea in the area of palpebral aperture, usually on the nasal side. So, mostly from the nasal side, from near the side of inner canthus, the fold of conjunctiva, which is in the shape of triangular fold. The triangular fold of conjunctiva, it encroaches the cornea in the palpebral aperture. Palpebral aperture is between the two lids. So, but may occur on the temporal side. It is usually on the nasal side, but may also occur on the temporal side. Then deposition of the iron seen sometimes in the corneal epithelium anterior to the advancing head of pterygium is called the Stocker's line. Stocker's line is a deposition of iron in the corneal epithelium, which is anterior to the advancing head of pterygium means anterior to the head of pterygium. There is a deposition of iron in the corneal epithelium in the form of a line. It is called the Stocker's line. Then the parts of the pterygium. A fully developed pterygium consists of three parts: head, neck, and body. What is head? Head is the apical part present on the cornea, and neck is the limbal part. Body is the scleral part extending between the limbus and the canthus. Okay. So head is the part which is present on the cornea. Neck is the part at the junction of the cornea and sclera, and body, it is the scleral part which is present on the white of the eye. It is extending between the limbus and the canthus. Here is the image of the pterygium. Then we come to the types of pterygium. Depending upon the progression, pterygium may be progressive or regressive pterygium. Means what is progressive, what is regressive? It is related to the infiltration. Progressive pterygium is thick, fleshy, and vascular with a few infiltrates in the cornea in front of the head of the pterygium, called the cap of pterygium. If the cap of pterygium is present, that means this is a progressive pterygium. Then second type of pterygium is a regressive pterygium. It is a thin, atrophic, attenuated with very little vascularity, and there is no cap. If cap is present, that means it is progressive. If cap is absent, then regressive pterygium. Ultimately, it becomes membranous but never disappears. Then we comes to the symptoms of pterygium. What are the symptoms of pterygium? Pterygium is an asymptomatic condition in the earlier stages, except for the cosmetic intolerance. So, the patient will come to a doctor not with the problem of any symptom. He will come to the doctor for cosmetic intolerance. It will not look good. Visual disturbances occur when it encroaches the pupillary area or due to corneal astigmatism induced due to fibrosis in the regressive stage. So, when the fold of conjunctiva, the triangular fold of conjunctiva, encroaches the pupillary area, then there will be visual disturbances. And when the regressive stage of pterygium, due to fibrosis, it may lead to the corneal astigmatism. It will again cause the visual disturbances. Occasionally, diplopia may occur due to limitation of ocular movement. So, ocular movement will be limited due to this encroaching of the conjunctiva. So, there may be diplopia or the double vision. Then, what are the complications of conjunctiva? The first complication is the cystic degeneration. Second is the infection. These are infrequent. Cystic degeneration means the conjunctival cysts are formed, and infection, rarely neoplastic change to epithelioma, fibrosarcoma, or malignant melanoma means conjunctival neoplasm may be there. Then differential diagnosis. Pterygium must be differentiated from pseudopterygium. We should differentiate it from the pseudopterygium. Pseudopterygium is a fold of bulbar conjunctiva attached to the cornea. Bulbar conjunctiva fold is attached to the cornea. It is formed due to the adhesions of chymosed bulbar conjunctiva to the marginal corneal ulcer. It occurs usually following the chemical burns of the eye. Means the etiology is a chemical burn. Then there is a table showing the differences between the pterygium and the pseudopterygium. First difference is that of the etiology. Pterygium is caused due to an degenerative process, whereas pseudopterygium is an inflammatory process due to any chemical burn. Pterygium is usually occurs in the elderly persons, whereas pseudopterygium can occur at any age. Pterygium always situated in the palpebral aperture, whereas pseudopterygium can occur at any site. Then we talk about the stages. The pterygium can be progressive or regressive or stationary, whereas the pseudopterygium is also always stationary. There is no progressive or regressive stages. And then, in case of pterygium, probe cannot be passed underneath, whereas in case of the pseudopterygium, probe can be passed under the neck of the pterygium, which is at the limbus. So here the session of pterygium part 1 completes here. We will study the rest part in the next session. Thank you so much. This session is powered by digital version 2.0, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. I hope you're satisfied with my digital session. If you have any query, please mention in the comments box. Thank you so much.
Vascular code, and it is beneath the sclera. Then microscopic structure of choroid from out inwards. It is a suprachoroidal lamina. Firstly, the suprachoroidal lamina is a thin membrane of condensed collagen, melanocytes, and fibroblast. The potential space between this layer and the sclera is called the suprachoroidal space. Second layer is the stroma of the choroid. It consists of loose collagenous tissue with some elastic and reticulum fibers containing pigment cells and plasma cells. In addition, vessels are found and are arranged in 3 layers. The first layer is a layer of large vessels, which is also called the Haller's layer. Second layer is a layer of medium vessels, the Sattler's layer. Third layer is a layer of choriocapillaries. And the third layer of choroid is the basal lamina. It is also called the Bruch's membrane and lines a layer of choriocapillaries. Here in this image you see the various layers of the choroid. Then comes the blood supply of the uveal tract. Actually, the choroid is a part of the uvea or uveal tract. Blood supply are short posterior ciliary arteries, and which are the branches of ophthalmic artery. It divides into 10 to 20 branches, pairs sclera around the optic nerve, supply choroid in segmental manner. And another artery will supply the uveal tract is long posterior ciliary arteries. There are 2 in number, nasal and temporal. They pierce the sclera. The anastomose with anterior ciliary arteries form major arterial circle, supply ciliary body. Then arteries will supply the uveal tract or anterior ciliary arteries. They are from the muscular arteries. There are 7 in number, 2 each for superior rectus, inferior rectus, medial rectus, and 1 from the lateral rectus. The anastomose with the LPCA. LPCA is the long posterior ciliary arteries. The circulus anterior, major and minor. Then the venous drainage of the uveal tract, uveal tissue, the vena verticosa, the vortex veins or the posterior ciliary veins. There are 4 in number, superior temporal, inferior temporal, superior nasal and inferior nasal. They pierce sclera obliquely on each side of the superior rectus and inferior rectus muscles about 6 mm behind the equator. As you can see in the image, the blue color veins are the vortex veins. These are the venous drainage of the uvea. The 2 superior vortex veins open into the superior ophthalmic vein and the 2 inferior vortex veins open into the inferior ophthalmic vein. They both drain into cavernous sinus. Then last point is the functions of choroid. The blood supply to the outer 4 layers of retina and modulation of vascularization, regulate retinal heat, assist in the control of intraocular pressure, pigment absorbs the excess light, so avoid reflection. Thank you so much. This session is powered by Digital Version 2.0, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. I hope you are satisfied with my digital session. If you have any query, please mention in the comment box. I will resolve it soon.